So, welcome back to Field of Screams, as we're now calling
Yay.
it. A lot more funkier than Andrew's film Horror Education.
Yeah, which is a shit name.
Yeah. So, Andrew has now watched Hereditary, which has debuted on... Not debuted. It's back on Netflix this week. So...
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Ari Aster's debut film. Same guy did Midsummer. So, it's certainly an interesting film.
Yeah. It's got a lot of positives, but I don't know. I didn't like it.
I can definitely see why people wouldn't like it. Because I have a lot of grievances.
I think the end is completely fucking stupid.
Yes.
But also, like, there's this good sense of, like, I don't know, I don't really want to say dread, because I was never dreading anything. I feel like I should have watched this before Midsummer, right? Because I feel like he manipulates your emotions much more succinctly in Midsummer than he does in this.
I do think Midsummer is definitely more like, I guess, not louder, but like it seems more sort of in your face. I mean, Hereditary definitely does get up in your grill, so to speak, but I think overall Midsummer's a lot more oblique about it.
Midsummer pushes you as far as it possibly can.
Hereditary is, well, not subtle, it's subtler than Midsummer, I guess.
Yeah.
I think if watching Midsummer first and expecting Midsummer from Hereditary is a mistake.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So it's very serious throughout, like, which is, obviously it's very serious throughout, and you feel for the lead actress is brilliant. She is really, really, really good.
Toni Collette, yeah?
Yeah.
She is fantastic.
So, I mean, you really feel for her, and it's all about, grief of lost loved ones and everything. And it's fine. But the ending, where she starts fucking, spoilers, floating around like a fucking weird ghost person. And then, when the boy runs up and he hides in the attic, and she's just there, like, banging her head upside down.
Yeah.
That made me, like, fucking cry with laughter, because it was so fucking stupid and caught me completely off guard. It was like, it had this dread throughout, and then there was just that completely fucking stupid imagery. It just made me laugh so much.
That is my big problem with the film. And there is a whole post about this on the blog if anyone's interested in more details. But I will summarise, and also... I mean, I probably would have put the spoiler up by now because you have spoiled shit. But basically, if you're still around, whatever, this is spoilery all throughout. But so the great thing about Hereditary is because it starts with this thing like there's this creepy grandmother who's dead, and it's like a funeral, and you're like, okay, well this is going to be she's going to possess the daughter. It's going to be like modern Exorcist because the daughter's creepy as shit. The mother's doing dioramas or whatever. But it doesn't go anywhere for a while, and then out of nowhere, because I don't know about you, but I wasn't expecting anything.
Oh yeah, I definitely was not expecting her to die.
Yeah, because it's this great sort of Rube Goldberg of bad decisions of like, oh, this boy wants to go to the party, you've got to take your daughter, your sister with you. Why? I don't know, just get her out of the house. So then she goes to the party, which shouldn't have happened, and then she's left alone, which shouldn't have happened, and then she gets a peanut allergy reaction, which shouldn't have happened. And it's lovely cascade of like supposedly nonchalant decisions, while poor, basically like, trivial, which all lead up to this tragedy that no one could possibly predict, this perfect cocktail of just bad decisions. So you get this great moment where there's the car accident, and it's great because the sort of the editing and cinematography makes this work so well. Like we basically hear the sound of the impact, and when we don't see it, we have this one shot that lingers on the boy and just his face, and we can't see the back of the car. We don't know how the girl's doing, and it's this horrible dread because you know exactly what's happened. There's no kidding what's happened, but you don't know for sure, and that's the worst bit. And there's a good 2 minutes where we just basically stay on him in silence, and he goes home, he lies on his bed, and he's just still like the same expression on his face. And again, we know what's happened, and we know it's imminent that we're gonna have it confirmed, and it is confirmed, and it punches you in the gut, and it's such a strong reaction. It's genuinely one of the most upsetting moments in all of cinema that I've faced. Like, nothing has gotten me quite as bad as that moment. And
See, that didn't get me that bad. Like, obviously that was the I don't want to say highlight of the film, but it was the highlight of the film.
I love seeing girls get decapitated. It's brilliant.
But it was unexpected, and you're right, like the framing, what I do really like about that whole film is the framing.
Yeah.
The cinematography is fantastic.
Both of Aster's films have just
throughout.
like exemplary cinematography. It's so beautiful, so like
Yeah.
precise. Yeah.
But I loved how you like the opening shot. You go through the like model house,
Yes.
and it becomes the real house. And throughout, every time they're inside that house, it's always framed like they're in a doll's house.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really, really good. I really, really like that. But yeah, that scene is shot and framed so well.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's obviously, that really got me. And I was like, okay, I sort of knew where this was going. But I thought it was going to be this more psychological horror, more about a horrific event than it's scaring you.
Yeah.
Like Midsommar is, where it's like you're experiencing this thing that's so uncomfortable it's almost unbearable.
Yeah. And that's definitely the way it starts to go.
Yeah, I assumed it was starting to go that, but as soon as she brought out the fucking cup and was like, oh, the ghost boy is gonna move it, I was like, well, okay, this is gone. It's losing me.
The great thing is, like, even with like, so yeah, she gets involved with seance, and it's, and that's when the film it starts to move towards that third act of ridiculous bullshit. But at least with the seance, because the first time we see it, it's just her and this other woman, and it's sort of, again, like, it's not much more than like magic show level of like, oh, it's moving. So you can sort of rise up like, okay, it's a combination of this woman's manipulating it, and also Toni Collette's having a fucking mental breakdown, so it's fine. I mean, she starts to show it to the family, and nothing happens, and both the dad and the boy are like, stop it, it's not, you're going mad. So you can still write that off as like, yeah, she's just grieving and she's like in a really terrible place. But then after that, it just goes to shit, and it's just like, oh yeah, floating headless corpses and random banging on the walls and Spider-Men on the walls and jump scares and just horror bullshit. And it's so disappointing. I get like, it doesn't make me angry; it just makes me disappointed. Because because it's the what I mean, and I'm still debating, and I don't know. I'll be interested to see how this works on a rewatch to see if maybe I'll notice some of a piece I missed, which will make this work. But like, what it seemed to be doing was like, here's some random generic horror bullshit, some sort of tropes you're familiar with. You'll know where this is going. Psych. No, it's not. That's bollocks. Real life is even worse than horror films. Some things are unavoidable. Suck up, life's a bitch, is basically where I was going. I was like, that's an amazing, great horror message. I love that, because it's so much scarier and more tangible than, like, spooky ghost woman or headless corpses.
Yeah. What works so well about Midsommar is that could feasibly happen in real life.
Yeah, there's nothing supernatural about Midsommar. It's all tangible.
Exactly. It's so tangible, and that's what makes it so unsettling, is that can, and as likely has, happened in real life.
Yeah.
Whereas fucking the boy turning out to be, like, the ninth king of Satan or whatever was like, well, okay. There was no setup for that.
Yeah.
Until like fucking 2 hours in, where she pulls out this book and starts reading about it. It's like, fuck off. The grief is so much better. I wanted her to, going mad with grief was so good, and how she's starting to like rip apart her own family because she's just that grief stricken.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Because there is the dead grandma thing. Is like, oh, she was so controlling, but that doesn't go in. It doesn't get enough setup to make the ending work. There's still loads of information missing to get from point A to B.
Yeah.
It just the ending still comes out of left field. It's not like we watch and go, oh, it's that. We go, oh, what? It's like there is just not enough setup for it to work.
I think if they made it from the outset be like, oh yeah, the mum, the grandma, the horrible grandma, she wasn't, into the occult, and she was really into this thing, and that's why she was so horrible and hard to get on with, because she was so trying to force her beliefs onto everyone. And then having those beliefs turn out to be real would then be, at least be something.
Yeah, and also
if you had that from the beginning, but it's just like, oh yeah, my mum was a dick, and now I'm grieving about this thing.
Also, and I might be forgetting stuff here, but I swear there's no real reaction as such. When it changes, it just changes. And like Toni Collette goes from being, basically the main character and going through this mental breakdown, and suddenly it's like, oh, she's possessed. Yeah, it's like, this is gone.
Yeah.
There's no chance where, like, the horror starts coming in, everyone goes, oh god, this is happening now. There's no reaction to the change. It's like we've just cut to a different film, basically. Like everything's just thrown out the window.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, exactly. The boy, like, literally in the last half an hour, the protagonist switches from the mum to the boy,
Yeah.
and it's just baffling. It's just like, why?
Yeah, it just doesn't have the setup to work.
We've always been with her the entire time, and then we saw the boy get, like, fucked up by the ghost in his class, and it's like, oh, okay, I assumed that then he was going to be the spooky ghost friend, if there was going to be a spooky ghost friend, which it turned out there was. I don't know, that film, I think, was partially overhyped, but also
I'm sorry.
I'd heard from everyone that the end was weird.
Yeah.
So I was expecting something weird to happen. That's why I was sort of like, couldn't really get into the good stuff as much, I think.
Yeah. I do feel it's partly responsible.
Because I was aware that it was going to be ruined.
Because I've been talking this up for years. And like, well, the thing, because I went to see it in a cinema, and all I knew was like, it's sort of some generic-ish horror film, but a lot of people have been saying it's good. That's all I knew. So I had no idea what to expect. I also had no idea it was going to turn out as shit in the end as it did. So, I mean, maybe you having some knowledge, like, oh, it's good, but then goes bad, maybe that influenced it, I don't know. But it's frustrating as well, because it's not like, say, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which has a terrible ending, but if you just stop the film at the right point, it's fine. You can't do that with Hereditary. There's no good point to stop it. It just ruins itself. There's no closure to the good bit.
But it was doing so well.
Yeah.
Because, like, she was destroying everything. Like, she was shouting at everyone. She was trying to bring... She couldn't let go. She destroyed all of her little dioramas and everything. You then got to see how each of them dealt with grief,
Yeah.
She was, like, completely lost control. Like, the dad was trying to remain in control, but then you have him at the stoplights, and where he just breaks down and cries.
Yeah.
And then you have the son who is trying to still hang out with his friends and smoke weed and stuff, but then he's, like, having these panic attacks all the time. And all he can do, before he was staring at the girl, but now he's, like, staring into space because he just can't.
He's just dead inside.
And it's like, yeah, exactly. And it's like, that was really, really good. And then it's like, lol, no, he's a ghost bully now.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
Also, like...
It's impossible. Like, so Georgia did say that you shouldn't compare it... Well, not that you shouldn't compare it to Midsummer, but you should remember that they are two different things.
Absolutely.
But I find it almost impossible to separate them in my mind because they are so... They're very similar in tone.
They definitely have similar themes now I think about it in terms of, like... Because they're both in some way about, like, loss and grief. But it's sort of... Well, Midsummer sort of starts with it, and Hereditary sort of... Well, doesn't end with it. It sort of reaches it at some point. But yeah, there's definitely similar thematics in them, yeah.
But, yeah. Well, Midsummer's more about acceptance, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And finding... Like, she's always been the odd one out, whereas eventually...
It's almost like finding your community in a twisted way.
Yeah. She finds someone to love, not to love her, but
to understand her.
And to understand her. Whereas this is like how different people deal with their grief and how it can drive you mad. And spooky ghost people.
Yeah.
I feel like Midsummer just affected me for ages. I could not stop thinking about Midsummer and because it was so weird and so powerful. Whereas this, as soon as it ended, we had a quick conversation and then I, forgot about it. I just went to sleep and that was it.
Yeah.
It just didn't have anywhere near the same effect. And you were talking about, and on your blog post, you mentioned how it gave you this pit in your stomach throughout until the ending. I just didn't have that at all. Like, I don't know. It just didn't... Well, I had that feeling of this dread of, something's going to happen. Of something, this bad, and you really feel for the characters. I really had that in Midsummer the whole way through, to the point where it's like, oh my god, I really want to like switch this off because it's so unbearably uncomfortable. And I just didn't have that at all in Hereditary.
I was going to say, so I know you knew Hereditary goes bad. Did you know there was going to be a big moment where it changes? What,
No,
were you
so I didn't know anything about the bit where
Okay.
the girl dies. I just had no clue about that. That was a complete
Yeah.
surprise.
Okay,
And that bit was really good.
because that was a complete surprise to me, and that's like because I had no idea that was coming or anything was coming. So I don't know, maybe that just really hit me like a freight train.
Because I thought that little girl was going to be not the lead character, but a very important bit.
Yeah, you thought she was
whole
going to
way
live past the
through.
40-minute mark.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Did you think? Because the other like really really great scene is the dinner scene.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because that's also like so. This is sort of something. I think a lot of Ari Aster's horror. I say a lot. He's done 2 films, but there seems to be the theme of them to me when you boil it down is like horror out of the sort of social, not anxiety, but like we were saying this in Midsummer, like sort of like fitting in socially. So like for example, in Midsummer, we were saying there was like the big sort of sex scene stuff and the awkwardness of having to watch it so intently and have people around it. While for example, I think the dinner scene in Hereditary is a similar concept, but instead it's the sheer awkwardness. Like
Yeah.
if you think, because it's all about subtext, that scene, which then boils over and becomes super text in the biggest font possible.
Yeah.
And like, but it's so uncomfortable to watch, and because you think about like if when you try to comfort a friend who you know has been through like terrible stuff, but you have no idea what to say, and combined with the idea of like being guilty about something, and also still like it's like taking 2 horrible social situations and slamming them into each other and turning up to 100, and it's just that intense social like sort of panic and just
Yeah.
horribleness, and I like that because I think that's a big part of modern day society, certainly with like our generations or like socially fitting in and like sort of social acceptability, and I think Ari Aster's managed to weaponize that fear in a very visceral way, which is why I think those scenes work so well.
Yeah. Nick, I've just thought of something.
Yeah.
I think I've figured out why Midsummer works so much better than Hereditary does.
Okay.
So, in Hereditary, there was scenes every now and then that had the main lady, Toni Collette, is that her name?
Yeah.
Have her just spew some exposition
Right.
out at you, right? It had her say, when she's in the therapy, she's like, oh, I don't like my mum because of this reason. And then it had her talking to Joan, like, oh, Peter doesn't trust me because of this reason. And then, oh, blah, 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 blah. It has this little snippet, exposition. Whereas in Midsummer, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this creepy cult thing tomorrow. Obviously, they can't remember what the actual word is for it.
Yeah.
And one of the characters knows what it is, but doesn't tell the other characters. It does show, don't tell.
Okay. Yeah.
And it does that really, really well, where everything is like, what the fuck is going on? Because it's showing you, not telling you. Whereas in Hereditary, it tells you these things, which it would have been so much more powerful if we got to see those things happen. If we got to see why the mum was horrible, if we got to see, some previous, like, even, in flashbacks or whatever, just something, if they showed us those things instead of just having those few scenes of exposition, I feel like that would have been so much more powerful. Like in Midsummer, when you get the Mercy Hammer scene, it's like, fuck me, that is intense. Whereas in Hereditary, when she's like, eventually right at the end, she reads the book and is like, oh yeah, there's this spooky hell man, and my mum was part of the occult. And then half an hour later, when it's like, oh yes, your grandmother was the queen and you're Satan, it's like, what? Excuse me? What the fuck? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Now you've said there is a lot of just sort of explaining things in that film, and not even particularly well. Like I said, the whole occult thing is so poorly set up, if at all.
Also, like, the therapy scene was bad. Like, I thought that scene was like bad because it's like she's just talking things that they could have shown us. You know?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because like in comparing that to Breaking Bad, right?
Okay.
So Jesse goes to the like the AA meetings.
Yes.
After spoilers, Thingy died. he goes to the AMA. He's shot Thingy in the face.
Right, yeah.
But, he goes there and he's talking. But the reason his talking is so powerful, because you get his inner monologue, but we've seen those moments.
Yeah, we have the visual context for it.
We have the visual context. What we don't have is his inner monologue, which he is then giving us in those therapy scenes.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hereditary, we only have the inner monologue. We don't have the visual reference point.
Yeah, it's only supplementary
it's just,
without a main...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as powerful. Whereas in Midsummer, it's like, oh fuck, there's something weird's happening. Oh shit, it's a mercy hammer. Head splitting moment.
Oh, nice.
That bit.
A splitting headache.
Yeah, and it's like... But also throughout both, there was visual clues. Like the symbol is everywhere in Hereditary. They've got that weird symbol that was on the mum's necklace. The nan's necklace.
Yeah.
And that symbol was on the lamppost that then killed the girl. And it's like, okay, there was a lot of that everywhere. The creepy hell man was seen at her funeral, and he appeared later and sort of T-posed at the kid and then left, which was really confusing. So, yeah.
I think you're definitely onto something there.
It just could have been better, I think.
Absolutely. It's so frustrating because if it had stuck the ending, it might be like one of my favourite films of all time. It just had such a profound effect on me. And the fact that it doesn't, it's like, I don't know where to stand with it,
Yeah.
I just have not...
It's got, the first 2 hours has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And then the last half an hour completely squanders it.
It's just like, what do I even, can I average that out? Yeah. But, I think it's definitely worth seeing, though. I think, it's...
Yeah.
It's just...
It was good. It was okay.
We were this close to greatness.
Yeah, we were on the verge of greatness.
Yeah, that was it.